I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack-a-magab, it's time for the only news that matters. In a new interview with the Classic Rock Podcast, legendary Deep Purple vocalist and bassist Glenn Hughes confirms that Eddie Van Halen nearly asked him to join Van Halen back when the Southern California Rock Act was looking for a new singer nearly 4 decades ago following the departure of David Lee Roth. Glenn said, well, Eddie was nearly sober at the time and we spoke about it. I had no idea. Eddie had become a friend of mine from the beginning. Look, wow, would it have worked? I'm not sure, Hughes admitted. Unless I was completely sober, and I've been sober now for 24 years. Yeah, it would have been interesting, wouldn't it? You never know. Glenn previously mentioned the hypothetical Van Halen collaboration in a 1996 interview with Swedish journalist Mike Eckerson, reflecting on some of the bands that had asked him to join in the past. Hughes said, Eddie Van Halen told me last year, he said to me that when they were auditioning Sammy Hagar, that if I would have been clean and sober, I would have gotten the gig. Eddie has repeatedly cited Deep Purple as a musical influence, telling Billboard magazine in 2015 that Burn, which was written and recorded during Hughes' tenure with Deep Purple, was one of his favorite guitar riffs of all time. Hagar replaced Roth in 1985 and recorded 4 horrible studio albums with the band, 5150, OU812, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and Balance, all of which topped the US charts, but did not come nowhere near how much Van Halen sold with Roth. Yes, Van Halen 1 in 1984 alone sold more than all the Van Hagar albums combined. Yes, that is true. Relay that to Sammy. And so, Eddie died in October 2020 at St. Jude's Hospital in Santa Monica. And later, Hagar came out and said, I regret everything I said about Eddie in my book. And then in the next interview, went back to bashing not only Eddie, but Alex and Dave.
Fuck you, Eddie Van Halen.
So this whole story that Glenn Hughes is saying, to me, it's very believable. I mean, Sammy wasn't the first choice to join Vangina. The first choice was Patti Smythe from that band. And Goodbye Scandal, from Scandal. And then he wanted Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates was a choice before Sammy. And now we find out that Glenn Hughes was another one that they were going to have. And they would have had him if he was sober. It makes sense. I mean, yeah, you know, they took Sammy and they had a little love affair there for a while. And then they realized how much they sucked with Sammy. And that's when it all went downhill. But in my own opinion, Glenn Hughes joining Van Halen after Dave wouldn't have worked because nobody works in Van Halen except for David Lee Roth. This is my own personal opinion. Sammy, then Sharon, all that stuff. It's like, okay, after Dave was gone, Eddie had no more restrictions. Sammy let him do what he wanted. Gary let him do what he wanted. And Dave wasn't there to hone in and get all that killer stuff that he got out of Eddie during the first 6 albums. And Glenn Hughes, to me, is the voice of rock, one of the greatest singers ever, and one of the rare singers that at his age can sing as good like he did when he was young, like Robin Zander. You know, he's got a gift and he's got an amazing voice, but that doesn't work for Van Halen, man. I don't think anything works for Van Halen unless it's Diamond David Lee Roth. And that is my opinion, and that's why they hired me to be the spokesman for the only news that matters. And I want to thank you for watching the only news that matters. I really appreciate it. And if you could please subscribe to my channel if you have not, I would really appreciate it. And please like the video. It's good for the YouTube aneurysms. And if you can still stay frosty, because I know you are now, but just stay frosty. And listen to Black Sabbath and smack 'em a
Farewell
gob.
and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.